coach for healthcare professionals looking to unleash their power, their freedom, and their income by becoming CEO of their own business. I have an extraordinarily exciting guest today, Carrie Holland, who is going to be joining us. Carrie is a board certified physician, certified professional trainer, personal trainer, life and weight loss coach. She is the founder of Fit Life with Carrie Holland and the host of a weekly podcast, Strong as a Working Mom. I know that this was a big hot topic as I was transforming between corporate healthcare and becoming an entrepreneur. And I constantly came to the topic of taking care of myself and taking care of myself and my family in this journey. So I'm excited to have Carrie join us today. And thank you everyone that's joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts and concerns of being a working mom and how to ensure that you are taking care of yourself as a primary effort in creating health and wellness for your family. So together, Carrie and her clients work through 3 components of wellness, which is eating, moving, and thinking. And quite simply, Carrie coaches women to get the best from themselves. So it comes from within. You create your plan, you create your story for success. And with that, I'm excited to bring on Carrie. Hi, Carrie. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me here this afternoon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have a ton of women that are like us in that we want to not only take care of ourselves, but also take care of our families. So today's topic is really focusing on working moms and how we can balance and continue to, practice self-care. I'm just going to throw that out there. Do you cringe when you hear that word self-care? Do you embrace it? I mean, is that a hashtag you use, right? It's kind of overutilized, but what's your thoughts on that self-care?
Well, I used to cringe at it, but now I realize that now that I'm actually practicing it regularly, now I don't. I used to think self care was like Enya and candles and bubble baths, but now I realize that self care for me is getting under a squat bar and going hard, or sweating my tail off on the Peloton, or making a dinner that I eat at home. So, even if the words sound cringy, I think that the actual practice of self care is not at all. So I have changed my tune 100%. And there's no Enya, so for sure.
I love it. I love it being a fellow Peloton. I've got mine here. I've got my hammocks, my Peloton, my Namaste. That is my translation of self-care. And I think that's really, what's important for us to remind our audience is that we can teach and talk all day, but until you really decide what works for you and what your version of self-care is and self-love to transform yourself into a better version, it's hard to get started. But you have an inspirational journey, Carrie. And so I'd love just to take a few moments to share with our audience your journey from, healthcare physician to entrepreneur and business owner.
Sure. Very simple. In a few words, I had a plan and my plan did not go as intended. I set out to study medicine and I did. And when I went through all of the hoops and ultimately started practicing as a physician, I thought, oh, okay, this is what I do for the rest of my life. I go to my job, I see my patients, I deliver babies, I teach the medical students and residents, and I go home and hang out with my husband, walk my dog, play with my kids, do the Pinterest crafts, get to all their soccer games. And then I woke up and realized that that was not how it was going to work. And I think a lot of it was my work. I had spent so much time and energy getting into my career. And then I got there only to realize that this was not what I thought it was. And being in family medicine, I chose family medicine and I really enjoyed what I did, but slowly but surely, burnout, sure, there's another word, right? Along with self-care. I was the poster child for burnout, and I got fried. But it wasn't until I did a lot of work, I'm very free with it. I saw therapists, I worked through it. I ultimately ended up working with a coach, and that's where my life started to change. And I really started looking forward, instead of looking at, man, why did I do this and all the things that had gone wrong in my past. Instead, I looked forward, and that truly is the foundational piece of coaching. So once I got into that, things started to change. And that was years before I even became a coach. But what I did from there was chose things that brought me joy and chose them with a lot more intention. So fitness was always something I was into. I mean, I was, in sports all through high school and college. That was really my thing. It's funny, in medical school, I could diagnose and treat diabetes, but we learned very little about nutrition. So I did some more nutrition certifications. Then I ultimately got a life and weight coaching certification and slowly but surely cut back at my clinical job in order to start with other, to be frank, women like me, who were just stuck. I mean, stuck is probably one of the words that I would hear most common. So I'm working with other women who feel stuck in one way, shape, or form, whether it's work or the balance of self-care and work, managing family, managing all of it. And ultimately, I pulled the trigger. I decided that I could do this as a business, and I did. And so now this is what I do full time. And I asked my husband, I'm 1,000 times happier. So yeah, that's what's landed me here.
I love it. Thank you so much for walking us through that journey. And
Yeah.
thank you for your willingness and confidence to expose like burnout as a healthcare professional, burnout as a physician. It can happen to anyone. And I think, recognizing that we are more than just this feeling or more than this job title is the first step in taking back your power in becoming the next version of yourself. So thank you for being so authentic in that message. And so many congratulations. You certainly have done all of the outer work in terms of the certifications and the programs, and no doubt you're an expert in that, but also the true, the inner work to, allow yourself to grow and to become and define, what that next version of you is. Go
Well,
ahead.
and
You were going to say
honestly,
something.
yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Kelly, because honestly, I don't think that I would be able to serve the clients that I work with if I had not done the work myself. And so I strongly
Hmm.
believe, I mean, even when I was a physician, I wanted to be able to walk my talk and be a product of my work. And now more than ever, I mean, I have done my own self-coaching. I have worked with a coach. I have done the work and have really gotten into my brain to sort of figure out what it was in the past and what mistakes I have made, and not beating myself up and not punching myself in the face over it, but rather looking forward and like, okay, these are things that I would like to change. How can I use my mind and manage my brain to move forward? And now, while still taking care of myself, and now that's what I do with the women that I work with. So I feel that I've really made the effort, and it makes a huge difference to have done the work yourself and to be able to share that with someone else. I mean, I think that makes you more, I mean, hopefully, I mean, yeah, I want to know what I'm talking about. And I've been through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Being your brand is there's nothing truer, and people can feel that and resonate with that. So that's awesome. Okay, so on to the juice, the meat of the topic today is, what do you feel through your lens are the three biggest challenges facing working moms today? And before I say that, I'm gonna let you dive in, but I also want to encourage any of our viewers that are watching to share your challenge. If it's not something that we mentioned today, we know that there are lots of challenges, but just to keep an efficient focus on sharing information today, we'll focus here. But please drop them in so we can bring them up for discussion as well. All right, Carrie, the top three biggest challenges for working moms today.
Sure. I mean, I think first and foremost is the societal and cultural norms that are placed on working moms. And I think that the messages are entirely mixed. And I think that's where we have to really take a stand and start to stick our neck out. So what I mean by that is there are all of these messages that, in our jobs, be a top performer. In healthcare, it's, be a high producer, get your RVUs, see as many patients as you can, Do it with a smile. Forget about what's going on outside. Patients come first, and that's fine. There's actually a book called Patients Come Second, which I think is fascinating, but that's for another day. But there's all of these pressures. Be the top performer, do your best, but then you're also a parent. Or for me, I have 2 sons. Be at their soccer games, make the Pinterest crafts, bring the cookies, sell cookies for their bake sale, all of these things. But don't forget to take care of yourself. Okay, well, that's all superhuman. So I think that there are these societal and cultural ideas of what a working mom should look like. And I am not entirely sure of anybody who's living up to those. So I think honestly, as I was preparing for this, and when you shared with me that question, I was like, oh, society, 100%. Because we buy into this idea that it is normal that if you want to be a mom and if you want to have a career level job, then you're just going to be fried. And so again, I am living proof. No, I've said no. I mean, and so I'll be perfectly honest. Sometimes I've said no to selling crafts at my kids' like sales. Sometimes I say no to going to a fundraiser. Sometimes I have said no to taking on an extra class where I teach. And again, it's not to be heartless, but it's because, again, self-care. It's got to happen somewhere, and nobody is going to tell us, "Hey Carrie, you've worked too hard. You're taking on too many things. Why don't you cut back a little?" Nobody does that. And so it's our personal responsibility to do that. However, we have to be ready when that happens. There's probably going to be some pushback, or there's going to be some opinions, right? And so that's where I have done a lot of work, and I do a lot of work with my clients to prepare for that, right? Because it's a lot of like, what are the opinions going to be? What are people going to think about me if I say no? But it is precisely that. We have to learn how to say no, and then learn to practice feeling the feelings that happen when we do that. So that would be the first and foremost, what society and what culture expects from us, and then being able to buck those norms in order to feel your best self. So that'd be first and foremost. All right. And then second would be time and priorities. And so I think that those two tend to smash together pretty well, or crash together, depending on how you look at it. But I think that so many of us, myself included, I mean, I'm speaking from experience here, that I had so many priorities. And again, I mean, I love the 7 habits of highly effective people. I refer to Stephen Covey all the time. And he said it, when you have too many top priorities, you have no top priorities. And I really feel that's true, because ultimately when you have too many priorities, you have none. It's just too hard to spread yourself that thin. And I think as working moms, often we feel compelled to spread ourselves as far as we can go, but then we're exhausted. And often it means saying, again, going back to yeses and nos, we often end up saying yes to things that don't really align with our priorities out of a sense of obligation, or out of everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't I? So again, they kind of blend together, like the societal norms, the cultural expectations, and then our priorities. We have to reconcile those and then be comfortable and strong enough to speak our truth and be ready for whatever happens when we do that. And that is a practice. I mean, 100%. So I think in answer to that, getting really clear on our priorities, which many of us can spit out one word, like, oh yeah, work, family, career, those are my priorities. But if we can get even more specific about those, then you're on to something. Sorry, were you going to say something, Kelly? I feel like you're going to say something.
Well, I was just like, as you're saying these, I'm like picturing how we spread ourselves so thin, and I'm thinking like Stretch Armstrong and like the go gadget arm. Like I can resonate. Like I started visualizing. I know a lot of us do it, right? It's how can we do more rather than how can we do more by doing less.
Yes. And that's actually another book. It's, there's this idea that in order to have it all, we have to do it all. And again, one of my central missions is to help women realize, no, you can actually have more by doing less, but it means getting really clear on your priorities and knowing what those things are that you're going to spend your precious little free time and energy doing. So yeah, it may mean that you don't go to 20 different things or commit to 20 different things, but those 4 or 5 things that you are committed to, you're doing it out of a sense of desire and true connection and authenticity, rather than out of a sense of obligation, because we all know what that feels like, right? To be there when you really don't want to be there because You're there through gritted teeth and you felt obligated, and that's no good. That's no good for us. It's no good for our families. It's no good for our careers. So if we can start to be authentic and true to ourselves and speak that truth by living into our priorities, then we're on fire.
Love it. Love it. Okay,
Getting
perfect.
excited
So
here.
taking notes. So I got societal norms, time and priorities, and have more by doing less. I'm gonna hold you to that later. I'm gonna ask your version of that. But okay, number 3 on
All right.
top challenges for working moms.
Well, it's very simple, managing 2 full-time jobs, right? I mean, we have a full-time job at home. We have a full-time job at work. I mean, depending if you work full or part-time, but even my part-timers, you're still you're still working. When I, as an example, when I was cutting back to part-time, ours was on a 1.0 FTE scale, and even when I was a 0.5, I was still in my computer, checking my notes, checking my charts, answering patient messages. So again, however it is you split your time, you still have 2 full-time jobs, one at home, one at work, and I'm going to call in another really awesome book here. I feel like I'm just like a huge book nerd because I keep calling up all these books. But there is a book. It's called Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. And I mean, I've read it twice and I'll probably read it again because it absolutely blew my mind and changed my approach to how I look at things. And really, her central message was exactly the title. It's drop the ball, meaning you do not have to do everything. And sometimes you have to drop the ball on the things that just don't matter. But she does also, it all kind of bleeds in together because she talks about priorities, which really sunk into my bones. But then it meant being okay letting things go. So
Yes.
one of the things that she talks about, and again, I'm using her here because it was just so impactful, was the idea of, she termed this concept home control disease, which I was like, what is fascinating. But it's this idea that we, again, as the women, as the caregivers, there are certain things that we do, right? Like most often in the homes, women are the ones arranging childcare. We are the ones managing food. We make most of the financial decisions. We often make many of the food decisions at home. So all of these things, that's on top of the responsibilities that we have at work. But if we can give those things up and do so willingly, then we're onto something. And then things get a little bit easier. But what it means is giving up that control, which frankly can be really hard, right? Because it means that things aren't necessarily going to be done the way that we want them. It may mean that we have a partner that's helping us. It may mean that we outsource to a sitter or a nanny, or we outsource to somebody else. And it means that it's not going to get done necessarily the right way, meaning it's not going to get done our way. And that can be really hard to give up. But if we can, then we've given ourselves that freedom, like you said, to do more with less. So I think that's honestly, that's like the third. That's like giving up some of that control, which can be really hard for some of my perfectionists. I don't know if you've run into this, but that can be really, right? If the shirts aren't folded in exactly this way, it's no good. Or if the checkbook is not balanced in this way, my way, it's not good. And a part of that is just having that level of recognition, like, okay, where can I let go a little bit? Yes, we are the caretakers, whatever, but can we let those things go and have it not be done perfect, meaning not done our way, but it's done, right?
Yes.
There's that give and take there, and that can be really, really hard for some of us. Perfectionists, 100%.
Yes, absolutely. I can resonate, and I definitely know some of the working moms they talk with on a daily basis. Like, where can you give? One thing that comes up that I'm going to throw out there, it's like it's well, what if someone can't afford a nanny, or we talk about outsourcing or bringing on help? Like, how do you create solutions instead of barriers in some of these steps, right? So you don't immediately see, I don't know how to do that. How do you create a mindset that allows you to see opportunities or options as opposed to obstacles?
Yes. I mean, this is perfect. This is exactly what I do. And this is part of the process that I use with the women that I work with is whatever it is. It's, if it's getting up in the morning while your kids are still sleeping to do a workout, if it's planning time to prepare your meals, if it's not having enough people to help you get your kids wherever it is that you need to go, all of those things are obstacles, right? Like those are all things that could potentially get in the way of your end goal of taking better care of yourself. So for every obstacle, then we brainstorm, what are the strategies, right? So if it
Perfect.
has been a terrible night and you're at home alone with your kids and everybody's been up or somebody's puking or somebody wet the bed, which most definitely happens at my house, then and you're supposed to get up at 5 for your workout before everybody else is awake, then what? What's your strategy? And so often for these sort of things, I come up so it's really it's what is your plan B? What is your option B here? If all hell breaks loose, what is your alternative so that you can still be true to your self-care and to your priority of taking care of yourself, recognizing that sometimes life happens, right? So we do that for everything. And again, this is where I love to get into the nitty gritty and get into the specifics. And I play a lot of devil's advocate because I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
what happens when it doesn't go well, right? I say it all the time. It's easy when it's easy, when the kids sleep all night or the dog hasn't pooped in the house. All the laundry is folded. But when those things happen,
Yes.
and again, when all of that aligns, you send me a text and let me know when that happens because when does that ever happen? But when it doesn't happen, then what? Right? What do you do when it's not easy? Right? Because otherwise we wouldn't, right? Like you wouldn't need help if it was always easy. So that's what we spend a lot of time
Right.
doing. Or what are the things that get in your way? There's your obstacle. And for every obstacle, what's your strategy? And this is true for everything. It's true for fitness, it's true for eating well, it's true for self-care, starting a business, all of those things. I mean, for everything, think of your end goal. What do you need to do? What are the steps? What are the obstacles that are going to get in your way because you know they're going to happen? And then what are the strategies to get through those obstacles for anything? So that's my
Wow.
approach.
Yeah. Well, it sounds eh, extremely efficient yet simple, right? I mean, it's like we can do it. It seems doable. That's probably the word, is like doable. So I'm inspired listening to you that these are things I could do. I create plans and I execute plans. You can do the same in other areas of your life. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the top three: bucking societal norms, creating your time and priorities, and also managing two full-time jobs. Those are three of the biggest challenges that Carrie Holland sees in her clients today. And if those resonate with you, we'll talk about how to get in touch with Carrie and have her support you in tackling those challenges. All right. The other thing I wanted to just touch on today is we're both in the world of healthcare and also self-care. And I wanted to just open up the topic and just get your thoughts through your lens of experience, where you have been and where you are in the convergence of the traditional healthcare medical system and, self-care in general.
Well, honestly, it's coaching. When I was thinking about it yesterday and the day before, I was like, it's coaching. So, and I will say, I've got evidence to back this up. So, I mean, we know right now, it is no secret that there is serious burnout and exhaustion and exodus from healthcare, especially, right? Because again, talking about being in a caretaker role, add on the pandemic, add on all the things, there is a mass exodus. However, if we're going to really support healthcare providers in their self-care, we need to we need to be able to make it possible, and we need to put our money where our mouth is and actually show our healthcare providers that we care. And one of the ways that we can do this is through coaching. And like I said, there's evidence to back this up. There are two landmark studies that were in JAMA, which is a hugely impactful medical journal, looking at the power of coaching in physician and healthcare provider burnout. And so far, I mean, again, it's two studies. So I will always say, I mean, I'm always about this. Yes, science is good. It is dynamic. It is constantly changing. So I would not hang my hat on two studies. However, they were promising. So I'm admittedly a little excited about them, that the efficacy of a coaching program or some sort of coaching reduces burnout. It reduces depersonalization and improves scores of quality of life. All right. And all of this is to say, whether it's an organized coaching program or not, I think that healthcare organizations have a responsibility to their healthcare providers to not only encourage their self-care, but actually give them practical things to make that happen. And I don't mean like a vacation day, because a vacation day is not self-care to me. Self-care is a practice, right? Like a practice means that you do it regularly, not every like however many weeks for a vacation, because all those problems are still going to be waiting for you when you come back from your vacation. So in my mind, if healthcare and self-care are going to commingle, I think that it is up to the healthcare organizations and whoever's in charge to make sure they put their money where their mouth is and put programs and practical things in place for that to happen and to decrease the stigma around it, right? So I will be 100% honest. When I was diagnosed with depression, this was moons ago, everything said, okay, well now all of my disability insurance, everything was, okay, well now you're a risk, right? So I have to pay more for my disability insurance simply because I was at one point diagnosed with depression. That was years ago, but I'm still reeling from it. So imagine how easy would it be for a healthcare provider like, oh yeah, I'm depressed, I need help. No, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. So we need programs, we need practical steps, and we need to decrease the stigma, both financially and emotionally. So there's all kinds of levels to this. I mean, I could go on here, but yes, those are the organizations have a responsibility to put their money where their mouth is and make it an actual possibility rather than just talking about it, meaning you need to take care of yourself. No.
Yeah, I love
I feel
that.
very strongly about that if you can't tell.
I do. I know. I love that. I love that you, one, you got the article cited. I'm going to be sure to send those articles in the follow-up recording for anyone that registered, or send us a note, drop it in the comments. If you want those articles to take to your healthcare organization, if you are a healthcare professional, be a voice on behalf of yourself, on behalf of your team, and on behalf of all of us that need more time to and ways to heal. And so you said that on behalf of like the healthcare professionals. I'm gonna make an assumption here, but on behalf of like patients that are getting help from you and they go to their doctor, getting help from other methodologies of healing themselves. I mean, what is your take on that? I mean, the more the merrier. Communication. I mean, it's happening, right? People are taking more care of themselves outside of in wellness. And so, what's your quick 1 minute take on that?
I think it's great. I don't think that there's one right way for anybody to achieve wellness. And I think in our current healthcare climate, there is no way for one healthcare provider, whether it's a physician, NP, whoever, to do everything for everybody. There just isn't enough time. So I think a multidisciplinary approach where everyone is bringing their expertise to the table to help the patient, then you're on. That's my
Love
lesson
it.
1 minute.
Thanks, Carrie. Love it. And thank you again for the empowerment and the encouragement. Your energy is just so uplifting to give people confidence that they can decide and they can make these decisions, and the rest of the world will literally change around them. I know you and I have experienced that transformation personally. Okay. Quick 3 questions. Get to know Carrie. First, what are you having for dinner tonight?
Oh, well, every night's a salad of some sort. We have salad pretty much every night, and probably buffalo tempeh.
Okay.
We've got sports. Everybody's going somewhere for a different sport tonight, so it's a salad and probably some buffalo tempeh. Super exciting.
Love it. Favorite book? I know you mentioned a few, but I'm going to put you on the spot for one.
Oh my goodness. Atomic Habits would probably be number 1. And then You Are a Badass, 100%. Anything by Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass. Absolutely. And then Drop the Ball, Tiffany Dufu. Absolutely. So I gave you 3.
Perfect. All right. And then just random question. It came intuitively. Will you be writing a book in your future?
That's in my 5-year plan. It might be 10 years, but yes, it's in the plan. I love to write. I love words. So it's in there. It's in there. It's coming.
All right. Well, we will anxiously stay tuned. And in the meantime, Carrie has a podcast, Strong as a Working Mom. Carrie, can you drop that in the comments, as well as we'll drop her email. And Carrie, you have a special opportunity for anyone listening today on any of our channels, a free working mom consult to get to know where you are and where you want to go in your health and lifestyle habits. So mention this webinar or this training with Carrie Holland, and she will send you the information that you need to register and start today. All right, Carrie, any last thoughts, last words as we close up for the afternoon?
No, thank you. And I just want to be an example to other working moms out there of what is possible. And it's taken some work and it is so worthwhile. So if there's any inkling of making something different in your life, go for it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, coming from Carrie Holland, board certified physician, life and wellness coach, as well as entrepreneur and CEO, and mom, wife. Keep going, right? But I think the key in all of this is Carrie decided, and each one of you can decide what those identities and those labels and those lifestyles look like. But you have to take the first step. Decide today that you're going to take a call with Carrie and explore next steps. Until next time, all, namaste. Thanks, Carrie.
Bye. Thank you.